Welcome into a little bit of a late night edition of Facebook Pressbox Live, not Facebook Live, Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is the old left-hander Ross Grimsley, who used to wear number 39 for the Orioles. He's number one in your hearts.
Oh, yeah.
And Luke Jackson, who is our managing editor of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. And tonight, the reason we're coming on after the Orioles game, and we realize most of the people that watch it are probably going to be watching this throughout Tuesday morning, is to talk about the Orioles at the trade deadline and see what we think of that collectively amongst our group here. And we're watching the Yankee game, and they're through 9.5 innings now. The Phillies tied it in the bottom of the ninth, 5-5. Phillies will come up now with a chance to win it with that ghost runner on second base to start the inning. We are brought to you by our friends at AJ Michaels, expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is still going strong. They will find you ways to find $6,000 in rebates. More at ajmichaels.com. AJ Michaels and the folks at Carrier, they are the big guys. And we're also brought to you by our friends at Atman's Deli, the new Atman's Deli at Harbor Point. If you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's has food and drink specials every day, now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at our bar for the next O's game, and you can watch that tomorrow. Luke, is that 12:35?
12:35.
12:35 from Camden Yards. Then you can watch the games against the Cleveland Guardians the next few days. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find them at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. And guys, it's early in the show, so we got to practice our thumbs up.
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Luke?
I've got my thumbs. I'm sorry. I got my thumbs.
Okay. Yeah, but you had your hands down. You got to have your thumbs up. And
my thumbs are up.
All right. That's those 6 thumbs are for our anchor sponsor, the Costas Inn. They've been with us throughout all of our entertaining programming content at Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. We'll talk a little bit more about them and tell you why we have 6 thumbs up the Costas Inn. But first, Orioles made a number of moves over the last couple of days. I'm going to start with Luke Jackson. Luke, they took care of the bullpen, the first trade by getting Sir Anthony Dominguez. And the last trade they made of any note, they acquired left-hander Gregory Soto. What do you think of those bullpen arms?
Well, they were clearly looking for some more velocity in the bullpen, and they got it from the right and left side with Sir Anthony Dominguez and Gregory Soto, both of whom had fallen down the totem pole a little bit in Philadelphia. The Phillies have some electric arms throughout their bullpen, and both of those guys had just fallen out of favor a little bit, and in Baltimore, they will probably get more leverage work. And so it's a good spot for them. Soto throws up to 100 miles an hour from the left side.
He has a little trouble with control, doesn't he?
There you go. They had some control issues. And then we saw Dominguez tonight, meaning Tuesday night, and he was kind of dominant in that ninth inning. And so you could tell right away that Hyder's going to like using him in big spots because he trusts the stuff. So I like both of those pickups, and hopefully over the last 2 months of the season, they can get the good versions of those guys. And we saw the good versions of those guys at times in Philadelphia, not so much this year. And then we'll see how it shakes out. They obviously wanted some more stuff in the bullpen, especially as like a plan B for if Kimbrel falters again.
Ross, I want to ask you, but before I do, I want to ask Luke one more point about this. What do you think of what we gave up to get Soto and Dominguez, Austin Hayes and Seth Johnson?
I think it's a sort of a marriage of convenience for the Orioles and Phillies. The Phillies were looking for a right-handed hitting outfielder because they had some issues against left-handed pitching with their outfielders because it's either like play Brandon Marsh, who cannot hit lefties at all, or play Johan Rojas, who can't hit
at all.
anyone. So I think Hayes definitely adds a different dimension for them against left-handed pitching in particular, but it seems like he's going to play every day, or at least get the opportunity to play every day, which will allow them to play Johan Rojas a little bit less, who, as we mentioned, cannot hit at all. Great defender.
Ross, I want to ask you, people in Philadelphia, I know, are saying, boy, what are the Orioles doing? Our bullpen was horse cocky the end of last year.
Right.
And partly because they had Craig Kimbrell, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and Gregory Soto.
Yeah.
What do you think about having three Phillies who weren't all that dominant with the Phillies in 23?
Yeah, well, you got to look at Dominguez. You know, he was an all-star 21 and 22.
Right.
He had 18 saves 21. He had 30 saves in 22. So they're hoping. I mean, and we saw tonight, if he can, consistently do that, pitching in Camden Yards, you throw strikes there, and that's what it looked like. They went out. Soto's a guy that struggles a little bit throwing strikes. He's averaging over 9 innings, a little over 5 walks a game. In his career, he averages 5 walks for 9 innings, but he strikes out this year over 11 hitters for 9 innings, and his career is almost 10. So he's got the strikeout stuff, but it's just a matter of his control. And you know what? The way guys swing at pitches now, just get it near the plate because they're going to hack at it. But Dominguez, if he can throw like he's throwing, like he threw tonight, he's got a really sharp breaking ball, and I mean he can really be a big a boost to that bullpen.
Ross, the price for pitching is off the chart, and I think Mike Elias had big eyes and big hopes. There was a little talk of Tarek Skubal. There was some talk late of Blake Snell. I never thought we were in on Garrett Crochet because he didn't fit what we needed this year, really. And the more he talked,
the less people wanted him.
Exactly.
Really?
So the White Sox kind of got stuck with him. But
Yeah.
I think for what we ended up giving up, I think we ended up with 2 reasonably priced starters when you combine the 3 people we gave up for Eflin and the 2 people we gave up. So we gave up 5 for 2, but all of them are suspects, Rogers and Eflin, a lot more than, they're not Skubal, but
No.
I don't know with our offense and defense that we needed Skubal or Crochet. They'd be fantastic, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it was important we got 2 innings eaters. And I think just as important, Ross, and I want your opinion on this, in planning for 25, I'm not saying they're giving up on 24, but now they can pencil in 4 starters next year if Burns leaves.
And that's you got a guy in Zach Eflin who throws strikes. His last 10 starts, he's given up 3 or less runs 7 times. He's a strike thrower. He pitches very well against the Yankees. He's 0-2, but he's got a 250 earned run average over 18 innings. So that's something that you got to take into consideration. Boston, he don't pitch too well against. Toronto, he hadn't pitched well against. But he's a strike throwing guy. He's around the plate, pitching at Camden Yards. That's a big thing. Rogers has thrown well his last 9 of 11 games. He's given up 2 or less runs. So here's a guy that can help out. He's he don't strike a lot of guys out. He's around the plate, but he's a guy. He's pitching well now. So that's something. But are these the guys? And like I said this before, I'm looking for guys. I'm looking to win the World Series. That's the whole deal. Now, with the bullpen, you went out and got some guys that can help on that. Starting wise, after Burns and Rodriguez, yeah, I don't know. Is that gonna get you?
Well, here's the issue. This year we got Burns and we got Grayson.
Right.
and the club plays really well behind both of those guys and has a better than average chance to win on the days that those guys pitch. But after that, with especially when Dean Kramer was out, it was for a month after Bradish got hurt. It's like a crapshoot whether you could win or lose.
Oh,
You
really?
don't know what you're going to get.
And you know that there's nothing that says any of these guys are going to come back as good as they were. You know, Bradish, I mean, he had electric stuff.
Oh, you can't think about them until 26.
Oh, no, really? So
Yeah.
I'm going, I just was looking for moves that are going to give you an opportunity to win the World Series. The Orioles have one of the best teams of baseball overall, even though they've played so
fair for a month.
this month. But God, you got to expect that.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they're going to have a downtime. Thank goodness it was then and not toward the end of the season or the beginning. So I was hoping to get a big name guy that you could have locked up for a couple years. And who's to say they're not going to go out and get a free agent guy or make a trade next year? But my whole thing was, hey, it's hard enough to get the World Series. It's extra hard to win it. And if you don't have the horses, you're not going to do that. And that's what I was hoping would happen. Now, I know that you got to give up people to get people. And I don't think the Orioles give up a whole lot of guys to get what they got.
No,
But
they gave up.
Is this going to get you to the World Series to win it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Tampa did their homework. They got two nice players in that deal. They got the pitcher Baumeister. That was our competitive balance pick last year. And they got Matt Etzel, who's an up-and-coming player. We don't know what he'll be like when he makes the majors or if he will. But they do their homework. I think Stowers and Norby, I wish them nothing but the best. But I think we got a decent pitcher with some upside possibility in Rogers. Luke, your thoughts on these two guys?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really good deal for Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby, who will get an opportunity to play every day, certainly the rest of this season, and hopefully all next season to see what kind of players they are at the major league level. I might even try Kyle in center field and just see how it looks, with the idea that he probably ends up in a corner at some point, but I would try him in center just to see how it looks. Connor Norby, I would try him in second base every day, see how it looks, with, again, the idea that he might end up in an outfield corner at some point. Both of those guys have some questions to answer, mostly with the swing and miss, right? Are they going to swing and miss too much at the major league level to get to all the power that they do have? Because they do have a lot of thunder in those sticks. It's good deal for them. They get an opportunity to play every day, and hopefully they'll continue to get that opportunity throughout this year and next year. In terms of Rogers coming back to Baltimore, he was really, really good in 2021. I mean, he was second in the National League Cy Young award voting. The issue has been injuries since then. And in 2020,
was it Cy Young or Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Second in Rookie of the Did I say Cy Young?
Yeah.
Sorry. So, yeah, good catch. So that year he was 94 to 96 on the fastball. Now he's more like 91 to 93. And his big pitch 3 years ago was the changeup off of that 94 96. And now the changeup isn't nearly as effective. And so I don't know if there's something that the Orioles see that can help him get back to the velocity that he was at when he was really effective a few years ago, or if now he's just is what he is, which is an unspectacular innings eater at the back end of a rotation. I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to.
You say unspectacular. I know on the season that the numbers aren't pretty, but as Ross attested to, the last nine starts, his earned run average is 317. And he gave up 51 or 52 base runners in 48 and a third innings, which is like a 108 or something like that whip. He's only given up 5 home runs in 48 and a third, which is one every 9+ innings. So all in all, maybe that's not spectacular, but when compared to Cade Povich and Suarez of late and Chase McDermott, looks pretty damn good to me.
Yeah, so I would say that Eflin and Rogers are hopefully floor raisers for the Orioles to get them out of the Cole Irvin, Chase McDermott, as you said, Albert Suarez, who, by the way, that's another big deal here. Another part of
He
this
goes
is
to the
that
bullpen
Albert
most
Suarez is
likely.
going to go to the bullpen where he's got a chance to be really effective because typically in his starts, he would run out of gas right around that third time through the order, right?
Yep.
And so that's what we saw on Sunday. But he can still be in the bullpen for you as like a spot starter, six starter type if a doubleheader comes up
Yep.
and you need that six starter, whatever it may be. You're going to feel a lot more comfortable with that backup plan in the rotation than some of the backup plans you had prior to a few days ago.
Or if the unspectacular ones, Kramer, Eflin, and Rogers get knocked out in the third, and
You have
we've scored
someone,
two,
yeah,
and it's 4-2, he
yep,
can keep it 4-2
yep.
for 3 innings.
No, that's a great point. That's a
Yeah.
great point.
Uh,
And yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, it's your point. The other day, and not to hate on Cole Irvin, but they
Well,
were down
Cole
4.
Irvin is in the rearview mirror now.
Yeah.
He was DFA'd by the
It
team
seems
tonight.
like a great guy, did a lot of great things for the community. He
Yep.
just didn't pitch very well the last 2 months. And the writing was sort of on the wall in the last couple of weeks that he probably wasn't going to survive the trade deadline. But it was a 4-0 game against the Padres on Saturday. It was still somewhat of a winnable game until, to your point, Irvin came in and it became like a 7 or 8-0 game. And if they can have a long guy who's a little more reliable to keep them in those games, to keep those winnable games winnable, I think that'll be a help for them as well, especially now that their offense seems to be becoming alive, and hopefully those deficits aren't as insurmountable as they seemed over the past few weeks.
All right, we've done with the pitchers now. Let me talk about the Costas in, but I need some help.
Oh gosh.
Thumbs
I
up,
need
Ross.
some help. 6 thumbs up for the Costas in. All wiggles, right? All wiggles.
Wiggle, shakes.
I've been
whatever.
talking about the Costas in since 1995 on radio shows. We've had them as a print advertiser. They've been on all my talk shows, all my Zooms. Costas in, they're like family to me. And I just want to talk about something. I want to make it clear again that this is not that they've come to me and said, "Oh boy, we're really hurting." Most times I talk to them, they're busy as can be on the weekends with crabs and everything. But this key bridge collapse, aside from the personal calamity it is and the lives lost, it has an unintended consequence in the neighborhood, generally speaking, that people from as far away as Catonsville, Arbutus, Glen Burnie, they can't get over there in 20, 25 minutes to the Costas Inn. So a lot of those people who might have come every other week or every 3 weeks, they're like saying, "Hey, that's an hour and 20 drive. We'll eat local." So I'm asking the people that live around the Costas Inn, Sparrows Point, Dundalk, Middle River, Essex, to think about what you have locally. And it's not hard for you to get there. The Costas Inn, great weeknight specials that don't hurt your wallet or your budget that much. Great specials Monday through Friday. And if you are planning a crab feast, call the number 410-477-1975 to reserve your crabs. Find out the availability, size, and price point you want to ensure that your crab feast is spectacular for you and your friends. Always great sports, whether it's Ravens games, turf basketball or football, or Oriole baseball. Always on the screens there. Lots of hockey too. The Costas Inn, one of our favorite places. And because they're one of our favorite places, we don't do this for everybody. They get not one, not two, not three, not four. They get 6 thumbs up, all squiggles thumbs. The Costas Inn. All right. Tell them the thumbs up guys told you to go there. The
That's
Costas
great. I
Inn.
get crab cakes sent to me, Stan, from there
Wow.
occasionally, and that's
You never send me crab cakes.
you don't get Maryland crab cakes just anywhere.
No, you don't.
No,
you don't.
you don't.
4100 North Point Boulevard, the Costas Inn. Our favorite, one of our favorite places, all three of us. Guys, there was a lot of conjecture about maybe trading, even after Hayes went in the deal, that Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle were for sale. And we know that Michael Ice probably tried, and I don't think there was a realistic big shot that we were going to trade them right now. But I think there's, he's got a gauge in the marketplace what they may be worth after the season. But what did we net after this is all over with Hayes going out? We brought in Christian Pache, but as quick as you can say Jack Robinson, they've acquired Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox. Ross, what do you remember about Eloy Jimenez when you've seen him play?
Just from several years ago, not several years, what 3 years ago or so.
Yeah,
He swung the bat really well, and all of a sudden now he's got some downtime for whatever reasons. I don't know if injuries were a problem with it, but
he had a huge
obviously,
injury. He had a huge injury the
yeah.
last week of spring training, either 3 or 4 years ago. He went back. I was watching the game, and he went back up to catch a ball over a wall, and he got kind of hung up for a minute in the fence or something, and he tore his pectoral muscle.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I hate when that
Well,
happens.
that's yeah.
I
Tearing
don't
any
have,
kind of muscle.
luckily, I don't have a pectoral muscle.
Neither do I.
Yeah, but
But
he's never been quite the same player as he
exactly, and
was.
I guess they're kind of hoping that they can revive this guy's career. He'll be probably a designated hitter against
Yeah,
left-handed pitchers. So hopefully they can get something out of him. I know they don't think they had to give up a lot to get him, but again, here's I figured
that was
there's
a Chris.
somebody
It was a
else.
Chris. It was a Chris Getz special.
Yeah, I figured there was somebody else out there that you could go and get that is, I mean, that isn't coming off an injury, that can play a position other than DH.
Right.
So again, that's a head scratcher with everybody. I was listening to MLB channel today, and people were just there going, wow, we don't really understand this, as well as the other one, Slater.
Slater.
And that's another one you go, wait a minute, I don't know what the deal is here, other than they were looking for some right-handed bats.
I think first of all with Jimenez, they've got Pache, who will, in my opinion, will get optioned to the minors when Jimenez shows up. But he'll probably not optioned, he'll be probably DFA'd, and then if they can get him down there, they will. And I don't see any place right now for Austin Slater, but the Orioles asking him to take an assignment, or be assigned to the minors, and everybody can pick him up on waivers. But a little bit of protection down there from the right-hand side. Boy, the Yankees ahead 6-5, and they threw a wild pitch. This is Michael Tonkin, and with Austin Hayes at the plate, they wild pitched, no outs. The bottom of the 11th, they wild pitched the runner to third base. All right, unbelievable.
So
A
yeah,
lot of wild pitches.
to your point, Stan, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the 26-man roster is going to look like when all the dust finally settles.
Oh.
Probably that first day in Cleveland, the Thursday night game in Cleveland. I don't know what exactly the roster is going to look
Well,
like.
first of all, do you realize Hayes drove in their tying run? Austin Hayes, number 9, and he's popular in Philadelphia. Loving him in Philly. I went over the roster and I circled Bert Smith
Okay.
and Cole Irvin, and I said one of them's going to go, and it's most likely you and I have been talking about it. You've had Luke, you've had Cole DFA'd for about 3 days now, and he got DFA'd. So the pitching staff, they're down to 13
Right.
with Dominguez and Soto.
Uh-huh.
The offensive players, I've got Jimenez on the team right now, Vavra on the team, but Vavra or Jimenez, they might have a day or two. Right now, Blake Hunt was brought up
Right.
to take the place of Cole Irvin.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that because he was up as, I guess, McCann insurance.
Yeah. So McCann is not going on the IL, and they'll probably.
But I guess McCann, under no circumstances, was going to catch again today.
Right.
And so they had to get a third catcher up here. So if something happened to Adley, someone could catch.
Right. So that factors into maybe when Jimenez actually will join the team, or when Vavra will join the team. But I don't think it's that complicated. I think you got the same 2 catchers, and Vavra will be up until either Mayo or Holiday. What's the story? Is Holiday really hitting well again now, Luke?
Yeah, he's apparently on the way. Which we haven't even gotten into that, incredibly, but apparently he's on the way to Baltimore. I don't know if he's going to be activated for the Wednesday afternoon game or if this is more. Again, I don't know how this roster shuffle is going to
Now, wait a minute. He's
evolve.
on the way to Baltimore?
Yeah,
Okay, I did
reportedly on
not
the way
hear
to
that
Baltimore.
because I was
So,
driving home early from the game.
so yeah, and so again, I don't know what their plans exactly will be for him. I imagine that they'll probably still try to hide him against lefties as best they can.
Uh-huh.
And maybe against lefties, you play Urias at third and Westbrook at second, and then against righties, Westbrook at third and Holiday at second. Maybe that's the plan. But we'll see.
Hey, how
And-
many new guys are on this roster now?
Well, it'll
Oh,
be
man.
four pitchers, Jimenez, and if Holiday's coming up, and Blake Hunt. So there's 7 new players.
There's
Right.
a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving
That's a
parts.
whole new that's almost a third of
Yeah.
the roster.
It's a quarter of the roster is different right
a
now.
quarter of the roster that new guys coming in, and that could be very strange.
And was this the most active deadline day for the Orioles since 2018 when they sold off half the team?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, if I'm giving Mike an honest grade, in my opinion, I give him a B. A B. I think the 2 starters he got were realistic reaches without giving up the moon.
Right.
I think they're going to have to reset this off season. They now know that they'll have Grayson, Kramer,
Okay.
Rogers, and Eflin for next year.
Right.
I think they have to go out and find a more fairly priced free agent, like in the 18 to $20 million range, not the 30 plus million that Corbin Burns.
Yeah, Corbin Burns is going to get 35 million a year. And I'm not saying
he's going to end up with the New York Mets.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I could see the Giants. I could see the Dodgers.
Well, the reason
they're not paying Ohtani anything.
The reason I'm saying the Mets,
Right.
I mean, seriously.
the GM of the Mets, the president of baseball ops, is the guy who signed Corbin Burns in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
David
that's true.
Stern.
And now he has the war chest to sign him as a free agent.
I would think that Stephen Cohn's not going to shy away from.
But
One
maybe
thing
David
that's-
Rubenstein won't shy away.
One thing that's interesting is that David Rubenstein and Mike Elias said this during the game. I don't know if you heard him, Luke,
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
but he gave credit to the group, Mitch, Mike, not Spencer,
Michael Arrighetti.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of Spencer Arrighetti, the pitcher for the what's his name, Luke? Spencer with the Houston Astros. The right-handed pitcher they brought up this year. Okay. All right.
You
Leave
put
me
me
out
on the
there.
spot here. I don't know.
Leave me hanging out there. Okay. But he gave credit to David Rubenstein and Michael Arrighetti, Mitch Goldstein, and Mike Smith for stepping up because these moves cost them some money.
Yeah, they took on some salary in ways that they haven't in years past.
Yeah.
Zach Eflin is not cheap next year. He's $18 million, which on the open market is roughly like a number 3 starter.
That's probably the most expensive starting pitcher the Orioles have ever had.
Ooh. Right.
What's Corbin Burns making this year?
15-ish, 16.
15-ish, right. So next year we'll be paying the most money. Unless we paid that much in one of the years to we're going to the 12th inning, 6-6 Yankees and the Phillies. But and by the way, we won't go over every single trade that was made in Major League Baseball, but I thought it was curious that Alex Cobb returning to the American League with the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, that was the market for pitching, that there was a demand on a guy who hasn't pitched all year.
Right.
So Cleveland gets him not knowing anything about what they're going to get out of him. Now,
they saw him make that rehab start last week, and he threw 5 shutout innings.
Yeah, apparently he looked good on rehab, and we know when that splitter is on, he can be really good.
I thought he was worked. There was all this talk about Tanner Scott coming here, Jack Flaherty coming here. I thought Alex Cobb would have been an interesting guy because his contract's up. He'd be
Right.
pitching towards getting a new contract. I thought he would have been very interesting.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I will say
these
that
guys, it's amazing how these
They-
guys were here and they did well. Flaherty didn't. He just
Yeah.
was.
you were talking, Stan, about like the grade for Mike Elias. I will say this, that his top priority coming into this deadline had to be, so he didn't have to do it all this offseason, was to find at least one starting pitcher who is a reliable innings eater with who is under control next year.
Yeah.
And he found that with Zach Eflin.
Eflin, and
And
then
he
he
was
went out
one-
and
and
found the
Eflin-
second one.
Yeah, and Eflin was one of the best pitchers who moved. Now,
Yeah.
he's not spectacular. He's going to give up his hit. He's like Kyle Gibson. He's very Kyle
Yeah.
Gibson. And
I think
so
he pounds the zone a little more than Kyle Gibson.
Stan, you and I have talked about this, that when they were trotting out Chase McDermott and they were trotting out Cade Povich and guys like that, you and I would text back and forth like, boy, a 7-inning Kyle Gibson start doesn't sound too bad right now.
Yeah.
Well, 7-inning Zach Eflin start doesn't sound too bad either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, and with Rogers, honestly, I haven't seen him pitch a ton. Honestly, the only time I've really seen him pitch from start to finish during an appearance was back in 21 when he pitched against the Orioles. And he was really good. That was when he was 94 to 96. And I'm sure Brandon Hyde remembers that start. Now, it wasn't a very good Orioles lineup he was throwing to, but I'm sure Brandon Hyde remembers him throwing 94 to 96 and is wondering, I wonder if my pitching guys can tease that out of him again. You know?
Yeah.
So
he's just been pumping out about 4 or 5 innings a start.
And the other thing, you mentioned Eloy Jimenez. I think Brandon has a tie to him. Like, I think Brandon was with the Cubs when they first signed and developed him.
That's right.
And then they ended up trading him for Jose Quintana. And that was the deal that Dylan Cease was in as well.
Correct. It was
so
Cease.
I think there's a tie. So I think Hyder knows him. So
Interesting.
I don't know if that'll help.
I'm gonna say that I think he's a little bit, the comp that I see possible is, and I don't think you pitched to Cliff Johnson, did you, Ross?
Yes, it did.
You did?
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking maybe at 30, 31 years of age and being from Dominican probably or Cuba, he could easily be 33. Maybe he'll just get a little smarter. They'll keep him against left-handed pitchers and keep him fresh, and maybe they'll get a little punch out of him. So I'm hopeful.
Hopefully the change has will make a difference, and
Yeah.
and some of the staff can work some wonders with them.
Yeah.
So
That's
did you guys
Interesting
see?
though.
Did-
Interesting
go
if
ahead.
if Holiday does come up, and I see no reason why he wouldn't after you reported, Luke.
I didn't report it.
that-
Other
that
people
he's-
did. It was I think it was the Baltimore Banner who reported it first.
That
And then
he's,
I was
that he's
confirming,
in Baltimore,
that he's on his way to Baltimore.
on his way to Baltimore. I mean, that's a potential game changer if he comes in and plays and is more like the Jackson Holiday we were hoping for. You know,
Also, guys, did you see the biggest news of the trade deadline? That I was traded to the Atlanta Braves. Did you see that?
I did see
Just
it.
that
The Braves are getting the 21 band back together. The boys who
getting
won it,
Soler
they're getting
and
the band.
Luke-
Yeah,
they're getting
Soler
Soler and
is
Luke
back.
Jackson.
Eddie Rosario is back.
Yeah.
They signed him off the scrap heap. I'm back. I'm ready for high leverage work. You know, let's go.
One thing before we go, Chris Getz, he's my new whipping boy now
He's
that
your new AJ Preller.
Now that AJ Preller's doing a good job in San Diego. What did he get? Ross, did you look at the players he got? He gave up Eric Fetty, who has one more year of control at a really affordable price,
yeah.
and they gave up Michael Kopech, who obviously is a project now to rebuild, but got an arm like a monster. And they got 3 guys from the Dodgers that are just, I mean, 2 of them are not really good. They got one guy, that third guy, who's 19. He might be a player.
Yeah, it looked like they pulled off some pretty good, got some pretty good guys that can help them out, especially in their bullpen. And that was, and the kid from Detroit, Eddie, is that his name?
Are you talking about Jack Flaherty?
No. The San Diego, the guy who they get from Detroit.
I don't know who they got from Detroit.
Who's you mentioned his name? Did they get from Detroit? It's a right-handed pitcher, I think.
No, the Dodgers got Flaherty. Fetty went to St. Louis.
So okay, St. Louis. That's right. He did. He
Yeah,
did.
San Diego picked up Tanner Scott,
Right.
which is a huge pickup.
And then
I'm really shocked that the Dodgers didn't get him. But didn't San Diego, Luke, you told me they gave up like 3 of their top 5 prospects for him?
It was a big return for Tanner Scott, for 2 months of Tanner Scott. But I tell you what, if they get into a playoff series and they got Robert Suarez and Tanner Scott at the back end, boy, you better score quickly. I mean, if you like in game 1, if they go like Cease and then they got those 2 guys on the back end, that is monster stuff throughout a game.
I just want to throw one thing out about Tanner Scott, and believe me, I never really wanted to trade him. I didn't like that. I liked Sulcer being traded in that deal. I wanted to hold on to Tanner Scott, but Ross, you can attest to this. There's a lot of difference between saving games for a team that's 30 games out of first place than there is when you're fighting for a pennant or you're in the playoffs. And saving a game is a big, big deal.
Absolutely. No, it does a lot for you, but he was a guy that was getting better.
Yep.
Each year he got a little bit better, and when Scotty was around, you talk to him and hear how he was progressing. He was throwing more strikes. He had a devastating breaking ball, but obviously he had he would lose command every now and then, but he got better. Ever how much it was. You saw big steps and you saw little ones. And then you saw him fall back, but he was more consistent each year, and that was really, really huge. And he's more consistent now than he was when he left here. So obviously,
he's pitching very, very solid baseball.
Right? Absolutely. So that was, left-handers develop later. It takes them longer to get it together. And
that's just an excuse that other left-handers talk about.
No, I've seen it too many times, buddy.
I know. I agree with you.
Too many times. Yeah.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap up a special edition. We've done about 45 minutes of baseball talk, Press Box Live. My co-hosts on this show, we're usually on Mondays around 5 o'clock, and we'll probably return this week around that time. Monday, we got to change Monday. I've got plans. Can we do it earlier in the day? Could we do it at 2 o'clock on Monday?
Whenever you want to do it, I'm here.
All right, let's do it at 2 o'clock on Monday. I got plans that evening. But normally we're on around 5 o'clock. But I'll be on with Eric Garfield Thursday. I think that'll be 5 or 6 o'clock. But that's going to do it for tonight. Again, our thanks to AJ Michaels Heating, Cooling, and Air Conditioning and Plumbing, our friends at Atman's at Harbor Point, and of course, our longtime sponsor and great friends of ours, the Triantafilos family at the Costas Inn. That's going to wrap it up. Again, the Orioles acquire over the last 3 days. They acquire right-handed relief pitcher Sir Anthony Dominguez, right-handed starter Zach Eflin, left-handed starter Trevor Rogers, outfielder DH Eloy Jimenez, left-handed reliever, hard thrower Gregory Soto, and also outfielder Austin Slater. Luke reported, based on what the Baltimore Banner is saying, that Jackson Holiday is on his way to Baltimore. I think he's been hot the last week or 10 days since coming off the IL there. So that's going to do it for us tonight. And that's a show, and that's a wrap. The Orioles win tonight. What was the final, Luke? 6-2?
6-2.
6-2 Orioles. They got a chance to win 3 out of 4 tomorrow. That's going to do it for us. Bye for now.